Hey, what's up guys? John here. The ATA chairman of the American Trucking Association just issued a warning to all 330 million Americans about what is to come starting January 1st, 2024.
As of January of this coming year, there will be no internal combustion truck that's compliant with California CARB standards. Hey, I'm going to convert a dozen forklifts to electric. The city came back and said, this is some kind of joke. You're asking for more draw than the entire city requires.
This is about 50 days away from now. These changes are going to increase the cost for all of us.
Supermarket shoppers sick of high prices are starting to reach a boiling point.
Prices are still rising even higher than expected.
We are paying more for just about everything.
With food prices, baby formula prices, car part prices, electronics, everything that we use on a day-to-day basis, home appliances, comes in and out of trucks. It's shipped and distributed to every single store through a truck. And now these trucks are going to be going through strict new regulations, pushing many of these trucking companies completely out of business.
There is trouble in the trucking industry.
One of the nation's largest freight and trucking companies, Yellow, announced it's shutting down.
Digital freight broker Convoy has broken down. The company told employees yesterday that it is shutting down operations because of what they called a massive freight recession.
I'm going to show you what that is and how this can impact us. Please hit the like button, YouTube will share this content to educate the people about what's really going on. And if you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself for what I believe is going to be the greatest wealth transfer of all time, it started in 2020. It's ramping up now. The next couple years are going to be very, very revealing. Those that make smart decisions today will thank themselves tomorrow. Go to GreatCreditFast.com if you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, any negative item on your credit report. Go to GreatCreditFast.com, click the link in the description just below this video. Take a look at this. So this is unbelievable. The first stimulus package. This package in 2020, when everything was shut down, everything was crazy. They gave 69. It says here this is in millions, so 69,461 million, right? So the total is 69,461 million dollars. That was to the trucking and transit agencies. Then on the second round, another $25 billion. Then another round, and this was $14 billion. So almost $100 billion went to the trucking industry. At this period, truckers were able to buy additional vehicles, invest in their people, buy warehouses. They were able to invest because they were also able to borrow money at 2-3% interest rates, and there was money everywhere. So now you have an influx of people entering the trucking industry, getting access to free money, and now that free money game is over. And now replacing it is all these new green energy laws starting January 1. And so when you look at this, it's shocking. Like look at the extent of this. For example, Citizens Bank in Sac City, Iowa, it failed. And why did it fail? It appears that it exposed itself to the trucking industry. Trucking industry is the cause, right? Defaults all over the place. It is absolutely crazy the amount of truckers that are leaving the trucking industry. Look at this. You have Convoy. This company was valued at $3.8 billion last year, bankrupt. You have Yellow laid off 30,000 workers. Just laid off 30,000 workers in August. But then look at this. He did a speech here in front of Congress letting people know what this is going to look like. So they did it in an example. It says, after one trucking company tried to electrify 30 trucks at a terminal in Joliet, Illinois, local officials shut down those plans, saying they would draw more electricity than it is needed to power the entire city. This is just 30 trucks. The entire city. And so how big is Joliet? 150,000 people, right? 150,000 people live there. So think about this. 30,000, you have 30 trucks taking more energy than 150,000 people. They go on to say that, here, look at this. A new clean diesel long-haul tractor typically costs in the range of $180,000 to $200,000. A comparable battery electric tractor costs upwards of $480,000. That's $300,000 upcharge is cost prohibitive to the overwhelming majority of motor carriers. More than 95% of trucking companies are small business operators, 10 trucks or fewer. Complying with these mandates will push many carriers out of business and tighten capacity nationwide, causing severe price inflation for all goods. Weight factors are another inconvenient truth. Battery electric trucks, which run on two approximate 8,000-pound lithium-ion batteries, are far heavier than their clean diesel counterparts, since trucks are subject to strict federal weight limits. Mandating battery electric will decrease the payload of each truck, putting more trucks on the road and increasing both traffic congestion and tailpipe emissions. Sourcing rare minerals needed to produce lithium-ion batteries is another major hurdle. Tens of millions of tons of cobalt, graphene, lithium, nickel will be needed, which could take as long as 35 years to acquire given current levels of global production. Expanding the capacity carries a grant environment footprint that would rely heavily on foreign child labor from nations like Democratic Republic of Congo unless the U.S. is willing to permit more domestic mining operations. And so he goes on to say the trucking industry is fully committed to zero emissions, but our path there must be logical. Success depends on regulations that are technically achievable. And look at this. He goes on right here. It says, thanks to the collaboration between the industry and the government, today's clean diesel trucks produce 99% lower emissions than those in the late 1980s. 60 trucks today emit what just one single truck emitted in 1988. However, a century-old 12% federal excess tax on heavy-duty vehicles disincentivizes fleets from updating their equipment with today's clean diesel tractors. So you start to look at all of these new regulations, all of these new changes, there's just no way that this is going to be able to easily happen. What we're going to start to see here is we're going to see, and he also shows us how long this would actually take to even power one of these vehicles. Like if you want to power one of these vehicles, right here, today clean diesel truck can spend 15 minutes fueling anywhere in the country and then travel about 1,200 miles before fueling again. 1,200 miles for a 15-minute charge, right? In contrast, today's long-haul battery electric trucks have a range of about 150 to 330 miles. So let's just say 250 miles for easy math, right? So that would mean you'd have to stop the charge 5 times for every one time of filling up your tank. The problem is that it takes 10 hours to charge. So if 250 goes into this, let's just call 5 times, I mean, you're looking at 50 hours of paying an employee to sit at a charging station. 50 hours. So if they're working 60 hours a week, for 80 hours a week, they're spending a large majority of their time sitting at charging stations. And so if the owner of this trucking company is obviously going to pay for that employee to sit there and charge that vehicle, what is this going to mean for us? It's going to mean costs are going to continue to rise. Plain and simple, costs are going to continue to rise. But the problem is that if you look at where this is all starting, it's all starting in California. It's starting in California, but a third of all items comes through the California Long Beach port. And so when you have a lot of these items coming through these ports and all these vehicles are hit with all these new mandates, it's going to completely change everything. It's going to completely change everything. And the unfortunate situation is already signed into law. This is already happening. So what do I think is going to happen? I believe that you're going to start seeing a lot of truckers getting pushed out of the business. You're going to see a lot of small mom and pops getting completely wedged out of the business. And you're going to see large monopolies start to take place. Like, for example, Tesla. California made electric big rig mandate. Manufacturers will struggle to meet it. Truck makers are pouring billions into ramping up zero-emission vehicle manufacturing, but simply supply chain constraints and recalls could undercut their ability to meet the state's ambitious new rule. I mean, so when you start to look at how this whole thing is going to play out, it's unbelievable. Look at this. So truckers are caught on the front lines of California's EV push. By 2024, trucks bought for use in the state ports and rail yards must be zero emission. So January 1, 2024, if you live in the U.S., the stuff you buy, the new dining room table, bag of rice, or pair of pants heading to your home right now may experience the all-electric future of global transportation before you do. Tens of millions of tons of goods move through California ports each year, proceeding from ship to port and beyond on hulking semi-trucks. 40% of containerized imports move through the ports of California. So it wasn't 30%, 40% through the LA and Long Beach alone, vital links in the global chain of commerce connecting factories all over the world to Americans' doorstep. Yet a new rule passed by California air regulators last month demands major changes to that supply chain in the name of saving Earth's climate and the lungs of people who live close to the ports. By 2035, every California drayage vehicle, large trucks that move goods between ports, rail yards, and distribution centers must be zero-emission vehicles from next year on. Any trucking or shipping company that acquires a new truck is required to buy an electric model powered by batteries of hydrogen and fuel cells. These mandates at California's ports are just a preview of what must happen nationwide. And worldwide, environmental advocates say if policymakers are to grapple seriously with the threats of climate, California plans to ban sales of gas-powered cars to consumers by 2035, and shifting from diesel to electric-powered drayage trucks should help. Also, clean energy and dirty air surrounding the state's ports and rail yards. Welcome news for the most communities of color that work and live in those areas. As a result, suffer higher rates of cancer, heart disease, and asthma. By 2050, California's government estimates the regulations could help avoid some 5,500 heart and lung-related deaths. 5,500. Well, by 5,500, that's not that many, right? If you look at that over the course of 30 years or 23 years, 5,500 people, you think about how many people are going to pass away due to suicide. How many people are going to lose their entire, livelihood from this point from there, right? You're probably going to see a lot more people than 5,500. I think we're going to start to see a lot more negative impacts coming due to a lot of these new regulations than I think many people are accounting for. We're witnessing something very, very big, and the trucking industry is going to be the first one to take this to the teeth. I mean, this is absolutely crazy, and then it's going to get passed down to all of us. It's unfortunate because even at my business, GreatCreditFast.com, we get calls from truckers. Before it was, we'd get one a week, 2 a week maybe. Now it's probably every other day. Like, it's really, really, really ramping up because the pain that's coming to this industry, it's not getting any attention from the media. They're not really talking about this. What do you think about it? What do you see this going? 2024 is right around the corner. I believe inflation is going to continue to ramp up, and it's going to get pushed through the trucking industry because of all these new regulations. Drop below. We'll have a conversation about it. And if you want to fix your credit, we'd love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, any negative item on your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description to schedule a free strategy session. Catch you in the next video.